Hi everyone. So I'm actually going to share from my laptop, but then move over to my iPad, and that's why you see my little face, and I labeled it iPad Kristin Picardo. That's actually something that I do in my classes now, is I try and label which little Brady Bunch square is my iPad so that they know what we're working on in different places. So let's see. Okay. So like Katie said, I'm going to talk with you about how I use some of the eResources. So I said consider ebook or other open educational resource when designing or updating your courses. So the few that I will talk about today are OpenStax. You see there, I took a little picture from their website. I stole it for this. So OpenStax is through Rice University. These are free textbooks, ebooks. And I'm using the microbiology book that they have for my microbes and disease course. This is a 100 level microbiology course for the nursing students. And the authors of that ebook are actually the American Society for Microbiology members. So very well-known names, and many of the images and examples that they give come from nationally recognized groups like Centers for Disease Control, the NIH. So really kind of nice to be able to use a resource that I know is coming from the experts. And it's entirely free, which means for my students, they have access immediately, day one, moment one of the course. Where I ran into some trouble this fall was, you can see the bookshelf app. So it's that little orange book with a little white bookmark. The bookshelf app is how I access the general biology ebook. This is a little bit different. So students do have to pay for that ebook. They pay for it along with what we call Launchpad. They've named Launchpad. So it's an online interactive space for the book, but it comes with the ebook. So you can download the ebook separately for Gen Bio and use it in the bookshelf app. What I realized this fall was to not blaming anyone or any particular system. There were students that it was 2 weeks before they had access, because this is a paid access to the book. So even though it was an ebook, it still took time to get access codes that needed to be ordered, and it took them 2 weeks, some of these students. So that was a real obstacle. So I really kind of loving the free access, moment one, day one. And then the third thing I'll talk with you about and show you today is really fun. It's an app through the CDC called Solve the Outbreak. And this was really just searching in the App Store last fall, having some fun on our Apple training days, and digging through and saying, hey, what other, what content related apps would be fun to work with my students? And I'll show you that today and why I choose to use it. So why ebooks? Of course, the access for the free ones right away. That was a game changer. There's videos embedded, really, really bright animations and figures. I have not used augmented reality, but I'm sure Katie can talk more about that another time. The text to speech, which I can show you today if there's time. The ease of the electronic note-taking, so how my students will split their screen with their Notability and be able to drag over notes or figures right into their notes. Of course, free options, everyone has their book on day one. So quickly getting ready for Appy Hour today, I asked my students, my current students, what they were thinking about the ebook. So, I really like the ebook. The hyperlinks that show definitions and images is helpful. Ebook is great, like being able to flip through contents and get what I want super fast. I like it, definitely a lot easier to find something. So there's kind of a theme here. They like the way that they can search in the ebook. Interactive parts are helpful. Convenient, easier to use than a normal textbook. And so that was just quick me this week, trying to say, could I gather some thoughts from the students? So I'm going to try, and I can't find my cursor. It's because I'm on full screen. Stop share. So I'm going to move to my iPad now. Okay, so what you're seeing is my iPad at this point. And if you look along the bottom, there's an OpenStax app. There are so many more resources in OpenStax with the book that I have not had a chance to dig into, but I will show you what this looks like. So you type your school name. We have to spell out Saint. There we are. And then just to know, I mean, it's not just microbiology, there's all sorts of choices, and they just put out a huge call and effort to build additional OpenStax textbooks. So if you don't see your topic here, you could reach out to them and just ask, is it coming? Or you could reach out to them and say, I have an idea, and maybe author one. So my microbiology, and I come here. Okay, microbes are small, right? So being able to see these images so bright on my iPad screen, I love that. It feels very different than working with a paper copy of the book. So let's go into a chapter, and you'll see some of the options that are available for this particular book. So of course, your normal textbook material, so learning objectives, bold terms, nice, bright, useful. I call these sort of the cartoon images, right? Charts. So then if we go back, there's also, right, summary sections, practice multiple choice questions that the students can do. Fill in the blanks, short answer, critical thinking. So, you know, additional resources that you would normally find in a regular textbook. So if I come back here, say I have some practice questions for homework, and I'm the student. Now I know they don't have iPads yet, but when I was using this book over the summer, those students did. So I'm gonna grab my Notability and split my screen. Oops. Did it just turn it off?
Yeah, we lost your screen share.
I wonder why it did that.
There was a question about accessing the OpenStax books and what kind of device they need to access it.
Anything that gets you on the internet. Is that correct, Katie?
Yeah, so right now I think students are doing it right with their laptops or their phones or whatever device they might have. But obviously this becomes an even bigger thing to think about when we do get to next year and we know all students have the same, you know, device and they have iPads as well.
So Katie, it won't let me split my screen and screen share.
Okay, I will make a note of that.
I'm going to.
This might be an update problem.
Yeah, so we were anticipating maybe some trouble. I made you a little video just in case. So I'll talk you through my video. So here's me showing you the textbook, blah, blah. It's really great. I don't think I can advance through it. So over the summer, when I was teaching this course fully online, so an asynchronous online course, those 6 students had iPads to work with. And that was the first time I tried this textbook. And I was really sold on, you know, whether or not we had them for the fall. So I'm teaching fully asynchronous for this course right now. And I'm really excited for when students get this, because here I'm splitting the screen with Notability. My Gen Bio students last fall would do that all the time with either lecture notes or their textbook open. They could even split the screen with the practice questions, take some notes. You can select any of the text in the ebook and bring it over into your Notability notes. So here I was particularly excited about all of the different types of practice questions. Another student did comment about the practice questions and finding them really helpful in the ebook. And then I point out again the images. I mean, those bright colored, really crisp images are so much nicer on the screen than in a regular print textbook. So this was me trying to show you the different titles that they have currently. And then I already mentioned that they have a huge push to develop new titles right now. So that's OpenStax. So now I'm going to open Bookshelf. So Bookshelf houses the ebook for Gen Bio. And so there's, you know, different ways you're going to access these ebooks. This is what the Gen Bio book looks like. And I just wanted you to be able to see some of the differences. So the students can go right to the glossary. If they were splitting their screen right now with Notability, they could highlight text and drag it over. So if they're making their vocab list, which is something they all need to do, it makes it really easy. With this book in bookshelf, I had to resize. And then it got mad at me because, right, not enough room to show you the text. So that's all that's happening here. It's really easy with this bookshelf app for this particular book to highlight and drag over text. And it also allows you to drag over full figures. And I think I'm about to show you this. So with the operating system update, I was sharing with Mike and Katie before everyone joined the room that I was having a little bit of trouble, especially with my Notability, but it seems to be working better now. It just doesn't want to share a split screen. So I'm sorry for the little bit of jumpiness. So I'm tapping and holding until it pops out, and then I've dragged over to Notability. So it's not even a copy paste. So I just did that with text from the book. And then I will show you grabbing a figure. This was something the Gen Bio students last fall in the iPad pilot were really excited about. They could grab those figures that we would spend a lot of time on and bring it right into their own notes and then be able to write on top of them or next to them. Take their notes around them. So all of the interesting Notability features we've all been talking about. So I thought we should study chipmunks right before they hibernate. Okay, so that's what the two different types of ebooks look like. This is the CDC app. So it has music. Is it really loud? I don't know how to mute that without. Okay, so I'll show you it for a second. So you go in and you're going to solve the outbreak. So the microbes and disease course, thinking about the learning outcomes for that particular course, the students, let me pause it. They need to use data, so it's an SQ, right, part of the current outgoing core. What I was trying to aim for in looking for an app like this was content specific. So thinking about, was there a really interesting app that was already made and would really help me achieve the objectives, the learning objectives for the course in a different way, really to have some fun for the students. So the comparable assignment for this class would have been where almost like a case study. So they're a little bit different where I'm giving them data sources. They have to evaluate the source of the data, interpret the data, be able to use it to move themselves along in the assignment. And so that's just a paper assignment. Yes, they're going to link out to some websites and resources. This isn't an app and it plays like a game. So I'll play it a little bit more because I walk you through how you can see the data, answer questions. So what would happen is the students would advance through and be able to achieve a certain level. So novice, right? They're answering some questions correctly. They want to work themselves all the way up to expert. So when I used this app in the last summer, when all the students had the iPads, what they had to turn into me was a screenshot of their achievement and how far they got. And I was able to say, okay, you have to move past novice in order to get credit for this particular case.